The snow fell softly outside the cabin window. Tae-hyun watched the white flakes dance in the darkness. He sat at his grandmother's old wooden desk. A thick blanket wrapped around his shoulders. The fire in the stone fireplace crackled and popped, filling the quiet room with warm orange light. 20 years old. And he had never touched another person's hand. Never felt a friendly hug. Never sat in a crowded room full of voices and laughter. The mountain cabin in Gangwon Province was the only home he had ever known. His grandmother had built this place long ago, back when she was young and strong. She had raised him here until he was 10, teaching him to read, to cook, to survive alone. Then, one winter morning, she simply didn't wake up. Tae-hyun had buried her under the old pine tree behind the cabin, the one she always said was her favorite. The doctors had explained it all in letters. His body attacked itself. His immune system saw his own cells as enemies. Going outside meant risk. Meeting people meant danger. Any small infection could kill him, so he stayed here, in the mountains, alone. But alone didn't mean helpless. His grandmother had left him everything he needed. Books filled the shelves that covered every wall. Old medical books, repair manuals, philosophy, poetry, stories from around the world. A satellite dish on the roof gave him slow internet once a week. Solar panels charged his batteries. A well provided clean water. Once a month, Dae-sung left supplies at the forest edge, 2 kilometers from the cabin. The delivery man never came closer. Tae-hyun would wait a full day, then walk through the trees to collect the boxes. Food, medicine, batteries, books, everything he ordered online, left in plastic containers to keep the rain out. Tae-hyun had seen Dae-sung only once, through binoculars. A middle-aged man with kind eyes and a tired smile. He always left a handwritten note in the boxes. "Stay warm," or "This month's books look good," or "The world is crazy down here. You're better off in the mountains." Maybe that was true, maybe not. Tae-hyun would never know. Tonight, though, something felt different. The air seemed to hum with strange energy. Tae-hyun looked up from his book and stared out the window. The sky was clear, stars shining bright and cold. Then he saw them. Streaks of light cutting across the darkness. A meteor shower. He stood and pressed his face against the cold glass. Beautiful. Dozens of shooting stars. Maybe hundreds. Racing across the sky. His breath fogged the window. He wiped it clear with his sleeve and kept watching. One light seemed brighter than the others. It moved differently too, not in a straight line but wobbling, spinning. Tae-hyun's eyes widened. It was getting lower, lower. It disappeared behind the mountain ridge to the east, and a moment later, a flash of green light lit up the forest. His heart pounded. That wasn't a meteor. That was something else. Tae-hyun stood at the window for an hour, watching, waiting. Nothing else happened. The normal stars returned. The forest grew quiet again. Finally, he went to bed. But sleep came slowly. His mind kept showing him that green flash, over and over. Morning came gray and cold. Tae-hyun woke early and made tea, his hands shaking slightly. He told himself it was nothing. A satellite breaking apart. Space junk. Something normal and boring. But then he saw the footprints. They started at the forest edge and came straight toward the cabin. Not animal prints, not human either. They were too small, like a child's hand pressed into the snow. But the pattern was wrong. 3 long toes or fingers, spread wide, and they glowed slightly, a faint blue color that faded as he watched. Tae-hyun followed the prints with his eyes. They led right to his front door. His breath caught in his throat. Should he open it? Should he hide? 20 years of isolation had taught him caution, but it had also taught him something else. Curiosity. Wonder. The need to understand. He walked slowly to the door, put his hand on the cold metal handle, took a deep breath, pulled it open. The creature lay on his doorstep, barely moving. It was small, no bigger than his hand from wrist to fingertip. Its body was covered in smooth silver skin that seemed to shimmer like oil on water. 2 large black eyes, taking up most of its face. 3-fingered hands, just like the prince, tiny legs curled beneath it. And it was breathing, fast and shallow, its small chest rising and falling. A dark blue liquid stained the snow around it. Blood. The creature was hurt. Taehyun didn't think. He just acted. He scooped up the tiny being, cradling it in both palms, and rushed inside. It felt warm, warmer than it should be. Its skin was soft but firm, like touching a mushroom cap. He cleared his grandmother's old desk and laid the creature on a clean cloth. It made a sound, a soft chirping noise, like a bird but more musical. Its eyes opened slightly, unfocused and dim. "Okay," Taehyun whispered. "Okay. I've got you. You're safe now." He ran to the bathroom and grabbed his grandmother's veterinary kit. She had kept it for the wild animals that sometimes needed help. Bandages, antiseptic, needles, thread. His hands moved fast but careful. He had studied these books 100 times. The creature had a cut along its side, deep and angry. Taehyun cleaned it gently, and the creature chirped again. Louder this time. Its small hand grabbed his thumb, squeezing tight. "I know," Taehyun said softly. "I know it hurts. I'm sorry. But I have to clean it." He worked for an hour, stitching the wound with the smallest thread he had. The creature stayed still, its eyes locked on his face. Watching, trusting. When he finished, Taehyun wrapped it in a soft cotton cloth and placed it near the fireplace. He sat on the floor beside it, exhausted, his mind spinning with impossible questions. What was it? Where did it come from? That green flash? The meteor shower? This creature appearing at his door? It couldn't be a coincidence. The creature's eyes opened fully now, bright and aware. It looked at him, tilted its small head, and made that chirping sound again. But this time, the sound was different. It sounded almost like words, like it was trying to speak. Taehyun leaned closer. "Can you understand me?" The creature blinked once. Then it raised one tiny hand and pointed at itself. It made a sound, clear and deliberate. "Pip?" Taehyun's eyes widened. "Pip? Is that your name?" The creature, Pip, blinked again. Once for yes. And just like that, everything changed. Taehyun had spent his whole life alone, isolated from the entire human race. But now, something impossible had happened. Someone from somewhere beyond the stars had found him, had chosen his door, had trusted him with its life. He wasn't alone anymore. Outside, the snow kept falling, covering the glowing footprints. The forest stood silent and still. And inside the small cabin, a young man who had never known friendship smiled at the tiny alien in his hands. "Welcome, Pip," he said quietly. "Welcome to Earth." 3 days passed like a strange dream. Pip recovered quickly, much faster than Taehyun expected. The small alien learned to walk around the cabin, explored every corner with curious black eyes, and made chirping sounds that slowly began to sound more and more like Korean words. On the 4th morning, Taehyun woke to find Pip sitting on the kitchen table, looking at his grandmother's old journal. The alien's tiny 3-fingered hand rested on a page filled with neat handwriting. "Good morning," Taehyun said, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Pip looked up and spoke, the words clumsy but clear. "Good morning, Taehyun." Taehyun nearly dropped his water cup. "You can talk?" Pip tilted its head, a gesture Taehyun had learned meant thinking. "Learn. Fast. Listen you. Read book. Understand now." "Little bit. That's amazing," Taehyun breathed. He sat down across from Pip, his heart beating fast. "Where are you from? Why are you here?" Pip touched the journal page again. "Sky. Stars. Far place." The alien paused, searching for words. "My people. Called Mirai. We explore. We learn about worlds, about life." "You're an explorer?" Taehyun asked. Yes. Explorer. Pip nodded. Another human gesture it had picked up. 3 of us. Come to Earth. Study. Watch. Not meet humans. Rules say no. Earth not ready yet. Taehyun felt a cold weight in his stomach. But something went wrong. Pip's large eyes dimmed. Big rock. Meteor. Hit our ship. Fall from sky. Crash in forest. Others die. I alone. Hurt. Walk long time. See light here. You're home. Come here. I'm so sorry, Taehyun said quietly. He had lost his grandmother. He understood loss. Even if he had never had anyone else to lose. You must miss them. Miss them, yes. Pip was quiet for a moment. Then it looked up at Taehyun with those endless black eyes. You alone too. I see. No other humans here. Why? Taehyun took a deep breath. He explained his condition, his isolation, his grandmother's death. He used simple words, knowing Pip was still learning. The alien listened carefully, never interrupting. When he finished, Pip made a soft sound, almost like a sigh. You brave. Live alone. Not give up. Humans strong like this? I don't know, Taehyun admitted. I've never met other humans. Just you. Pip seemed to find this funny. It made a chirping laugh. Strange. I study humans for months from ship. Never meet one. You never meet human. But we meet each other. Both alone. Now not alone. Taehyun smiled. Now not alone, he agreed. Over the next week, their bond grew stronger. Pip's language skills improved rapidly. The alien was brilliant. Learning not just words but ideas, emotions, the subtle meanings behind phrases. They talked for hours every day. Pip asked endless questions about Earth, about humans, about Taehyun's life. Taehyun showed Pip his grandmother's journals, filled with her thoughts about life, nature, loneliness, and love. The alien read them all, sometimes asking Taehyun to explain feelings it didn't understand. What is hope? Pip asked one evening. They sat by the fireplace, the flames casting dancing shadows on the walls. Taehyun thought carefully. Hope is believing things can get better. Even when everything looks dark, even when you're alone and scared. Hope is the feeling that tomorrow might be different. Pip nodded slowly. Your grandmother had hope. She write about it. She hope you be happy. Even after she gone. Yes. Taehyun whispered. His eyes felt hot. He hadn't cried in years. You have hope too, Pip said. I see it. You alone 20 years. But still you read. Still you learn. Still you save me. That is hope. Taehyun wiped his eyes and laughed softly. Maybe you're right. In return, Pip showed Taehyun wonders from the stars. The alien had saved one small device from the crash, a silver disc, no bigger than a coin. When Pip touched it, the disc floated into the air and projected lights. Holograms. Taehyun watched with wide eyes as images filled the cabin. Alien worlds spinning in space. Cities made of crystal and light. Creatures of every shape and size walking, flying, swimming through strange landscapes. The Mirai homeworld, covered in silver forests and floating gardens. Beautiful, Taehyun breathed. The universe is so much bigger than I imagined. Big. Yes. Many worlds, many people, all different, all special. Pip made the images fade. But Mirai have rules. We watch, we study, we do not meet, we wait until world is ready. When is a world ready? Taehyun asked. Pip's expression turned sad. Mirai say when humans stop fighting. When humans care about all life. When humans think about more than just themselves. Maybe many years. Maybe never. Taehyun felt anger rise in his chest. That's not fair. You don't know humans. You just watch from far away. How can you judge? I know, Pip said quietly. I think this too. I think rules may be wrong. But rules keep everyone safe. First contact can be dangerous, can hurt young civilizations. Or maybe, Tae-hyun said, keeping secrets hurts more. Making people feel alone in the universe, that hurts too. Pip looked at him for a long moment. You wise for young human. Isolation teach you things. Patience. Understanding. You not hate me. I am alien. Strange. Different. But you save me, care for me. This is good. This is what Mirai look for. I'm just one person, Tae-hyun said. I can't speak for all humans. Maybe not, but you speak for what humans can be. The next morning, something changed. Tae-hyun woke to a high-pitched beeping sound. He ran to the kitchen and found Pip standing next to the silver disc. The device was flashing red, pulsing with light. What's happening? Tae-hyun asked. Pip turned to him, and Tae-hyun saw fear in those alien eyes. Distress beacon. It activate. It call my people. They come soon. Maybe one day. Maybe two. Tae-hyun's heart sank. They're coming to get you. Yes, they come. They take me home. But, Pip hesitated. Mirai have rules. Strict rules. They find you know about us. They not allow this. What will they do? Tae-hyun asked, though part of him already knew the answer. They will fix. Erase your memory. Make you forget. Or, Pip looked away. Or take you away from home. Keep you somewhere safe. Somewhere. Alone. Tae-hyun sat down heavily. After everything, after finding friendship for the first time in his life, it would be taken away. Or worse, he would forget it ever happened. The thought made him feel sick. There must be another way, he said. Pip climbed onto the table and sat facing him. Maybe I tell them about you. About your kindness. About how you prove humans can be good. But they may not listen. They may say, you are just one person. Not enough to change rules. Then we'll make them listen, Tae-hyun said firmly. You said Mirai look for civilizations that care about all life. That think beyond themselves. I'll show them. I'll prove humans are ready. How? Pip asked. Tae-hyun didn't know yet. But sitting there in his grandmother's cabin, looking at his only friend in the entire universe, he felt something powerful growing inside him. Not fear. Not despair. Hope. I don't know, he admitted. But I have one day to figure it out. And I'm not giving up. Not on you. Not on Earth. Not on the chance that maybe, just maybe, we're not meant to be alone, Enim. The ship came at sunset. Tae-hyun heard it before he saw it. A deep humming sound that made the cabin windows rattle. He stood outside in the snow. Pip balanced on his shoulder and watched the sky turn strange colors. The vessel appeared from behind the clouds, nothing like the airplanes Tae-hyun had seen in pictures. It was smooth and oval-shaped, like a river stone, glowing with soft blue light. It descended slowly and silently, landing in the clearing near the cabin. Snow swirled up in great clouds, then settled. Tae-hyun's heart pounded. His hands shook. But he stood his ground. A door opened in the side of the ship, unfolding like a flower. 3 figures emerged, each no bigger than Pip. They moved down a ramp that formed itself from light, their silver skin gleaming in the fading sunlight. The first one was taller than Pip, with markings on its head that looked like flowing water. It walked with authority, its movements sharp and precise. The second one carried a device covered in lights and symbols. The third one had a gentler way of moving, almost cautious. They stopped 3 meters from Tae-hyun and stared. Pip chirped something in a language Tae-hyun couldn't understand. The tall one responded, its voice like wind chimes. Musical, but cold. They speak Mirai language, Pip whispered in Tae-hyun's ear. I will translate. The tall one is Commander Vix. She leads this mission. The one with device is Surveyor Lin. He maps and records. The gentle one is Medical Officer Keat. She heals. Commander Vix spoke again, longer this time. Her black eyes never left Taehyun's face. Pip translated quietly. She says they are shocked. I am alive. Shocked that a human knows we exist. She says this is a serious violation of Mirai law. She asks why I broke the rules. Tell her the truth, Taehyun said. Tell her you were dying and I saved your life. Pip spoke in the musical language. Commander Vix listened, then responded sharply. She says that does not matter. Rules are rules. She says they will take me home and fix this situation. She says you will forget everything, or they will take you somewhere you cannot tell others. Taehyun took a deep breath. Tell her I won't forget. Tell her she can't make me. Tell her I have a right to know the truth about the universe. Pip hesitated. Taehyun, that will make her angry. I don't care. Translate. Pip spoke. Commander Vix's eyes widened. She stepped forward, and her voice rose, sharp and cutting. She says you have no rights here. She says Earth is a protected world. She says humans are not ready. Too violent. Too selfish. Too dangerous. She says we make wars, destroy nature, hurt each other. She says we need more time to grow. Anger flared in Taehyun's chest. And who gave her the right to decide? Who made the Mirai judges of the whole universe? Pip translated. Commander Vix went very still. Even from a distance, Taehyun could feel her cold fury. But before she could respond, a new sound cut through the tense silence. An engine. A vehicle approaching through the forest. Everyone turned. Through the trees, Taehyun saw headlights bouncing on the rough path. His stomach dropped. No. Not now. Dae-sung, he whispered. The old truck pulled into the clearing and stopped. The engine went quiet. The door opened, and Dae-sung stepped out. A heavy box in his arms. He was early. 3 weeks early. The delivery man froze when he saw the alien ship. The box slipped from his hands and hit the ground. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Dae-sung did something that shocked everyone. He didn't scream, didn't run, didn't panic. He simply set his shoulders, took a breath, and walked forward calmly. Taehyun, he called out. Are you all right? Are these visitors friendly? Taehyun almost laughed. 10 years of monthly deliveries. And this was the first time they had spoken face to face. I'm okay. They're complicated. Dae-sung stopped a few meters away. He looked at the 3 Mirai, at Pip on Taehyun's shoulder, at the glowing ship. Then he bowed politely, the way Koreans greet elders or important guests. Welcome, he said simply. If anyone is injured or needs help, I was a medic in the army. I can assist. Commander Vix made a sound like breaking glass. She spoke rapidly. She cannot believe this. Pip translated. Another human. Another witness. She says this gets worse and worse. She says both your memories must be erased now. But Medical Officer Keat stepped forward. She spoke softly, gesturing at Taehyun. Commander Vix tried to interrupt, but Keat kept talking, her voice growing stronger. What is she saying? Taehyun asked. Pip listened. She says she wants to scan you first. Before any decisions. She says something about your biology. She seems excited. Keat approached, holding up a small device. She looked at Taehyun, and her expression seemed kind, asking permission. Taehyun nodded. Okay. The device hummed and cast a green light over his body. Keat watched symbols flow across the surface. Her eyes grew wider and wider. She made a sound of pure amazement. She turned to Commander Vix and spoke urgently. Surveyor Lin moved closer to look at the device. Both aliens began talking at once. What? Taehyun demanded. What do they see? Pip was quiet, listening hard. When the alien finally spoke, its voice shook with wonder. Your blood. Your genes. Keat says you have something special. A mutation. Something rare. My immune disorder, Taehyun said bitterly. The thing that trapped me here my whole life. No, Pip said. Not disorder. Gift. Keats says there is a sickness spreading through space. A pathogen. It kills many species. The Mirai have been searching for a cure for years. She says your mutation makes you immune. Your DNA might be the key to saving billions of lives. Taehyun stared. The words didn't make sense. His weakness was a strength? His curse was a gift? Commander Vic spoke. Her tone changed now. Less angry, more calculating. She makes you an offer, Pip translated. Give them your genetic material. Let them study your blood. They will create a cure. Save countless beings across the galaxy. In return, they will erase your memory and let you return to your life here. You will forget everything. Live in peace. And Dae-sung? Taehyun asked. His memory erased too. Taehyun looked at Dae-sung. The older man stood quiet, watching, trying to understand what was happening. There's another option. Commander Vix continued through Pip. Come with us. Live on our world. Help create the cure yourself. But you can never return to Earth. You will spend your life among aliens. Taehyun felt the weight of the choice crushing down on him. Forget everything and stay alone. Or leave Earth forever and still be alone. Just in a different way. But something inside him rebelled. Something that had grown during his talks with Pip. Something that his grandmother had planted in his heart through her journals. No, he said. Commander Vix tilted her head. Confused. I reject both options, Taehyun said firmly. I'll give you my genetic material freely. I want to help save lives. But I will not forget. And I will not leave Earth alone in the dark. He stepped forward, looking Commander Vix in the eye. You say humans aren't ready. You say we're violent and selfish. But you're standing in front of two humans right now. I saved Pip's life without knowing what she was. I risked everything for a stranger. Dae-sung drove up here and offered to help aliens he'd never seen before. Where's the violence? Where's the selfishness? Pip translated. Commander Vix's expression didn't change. You want to know if humans are ready for the truth? Then tell us the truth. Open contact with Earth. Let humanity prove themselves. Stop hiding and watching from the shadows. Give us a chance. Taehyun, Pip whispered. This is dangerous. You are asking them to break their oldest laws. I know, he said. But isolation destroys potential. I learned that the hard way. I spent 20 years alone in these mountains. 20 years that could have been different. Could have been better. If I'd had a choice. Don't force Earth into the same isolation. Don't decide our future for us. Dae-sung spoke up, his voice calm and strong. I don't understand everything happening here. But I understand this young man. He's right. Humanity deserves the truth. We deserve a chance to prove ourselves. And if we fail, we fail. But let it be our choice. Commander Vix stood silent for a long moment. Then she spoke to Surveyor Lin, who activated his device. A hologram appeared in the air between them. Dozens of Mirai faces, gathered in what looked like a council chamber. She has called the collective, Pip said quietly. The Mirai leaders. They will decide. And so they waited, as the sun set completely, and stars filled the sky. Human and alien, standing together in the snow, waiting to see if the universe would give Earth a chance. Pip reached out and touched Taehyun's hand with its tiny three-fingered palm. The touch was warm and gentle. Thank you, friend, the alien said softly. Thank you, Pip, Taehyun replied. Outside, the morning sun rose over the mountains, painting the snow in shades of gold and pink. And in the cabin, two beings from different worlds prepared to face whatever came next. Together, the hologram filled the air with light and faces. Dozens of Mirai from across the galaxy, their images floating like ghosts in the cold mountain night. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. All of them looked at Taehyun like he was a problem to solve. Commander Vix spoke in the musical language, explaining the situation. Taehyun couldn't understand the words, but he watched the faces react. Some grew darker. Some seemed surprised. One old Mirai, with markings that covered its entire head like a map, leaned forward with intense interest. Pip stood on Taehyun's shoulder, translating in whispers. Vix tells them everything. The crash. How you saved me. How you demand open contact. How your blood might cure the pathogen. They are debating. The debate grew heated. Multiple Mirai spoke at once, their voices rising and falling like waves. Taehyun caught glimpses of their arguments through Pip's rushed translations. Conservative faction says Earth is too dangerous. They show images of wars, pollution, violence. They say humans will use alien technology for destruction. They say we must wait at least another 100 years. Taehyun's jaw tightened. He wanted to argue, but Pip continued. Progressive faction says the rules are outdated. They say every civilization has a violent past. They say isolation prevents growth. They say humanity should be given a chance, even if supervised. Dae-sung stood beside Taehyun, arms crossed, watching everything with the calm patience of a soldier. What are our odds? He asked quietly. Not good, Taehyun admitted. Then the old Mirai with the map-like markings spoke. The entire council went silent. Even Commander Vix straightened. Showing respect. Elder Quinn, Pip whispered. Very old, very wise. She has lived 300 years. Her word carries weight. Elder Quinn spoke slowly, deliberately. Her voice was different from the others, deeper, with a quality that reminded Taehyun of ancient trees and deep rivers. Pip translated. She says she wants to speak with you directly. She requests permission to enter your mind, share thoughts, understand who you truly are. Taehyun's heart raced. Enter my mind? Is that safe? It is safe. But it is intimate. She will see your memories, your feelings, everything. No lies, no hiding. Complete truth. Taehyun looked at Dae-sung, who nodded once. Then he looked at Pip. Will it hurt? No, but it will be strange. Uncomfortable, maybe. Taehyun took a breath and stepped forward. I accept. I have nothing to hide. Elder Quinn's hologram seemed to grow brighter. Medical Officer Keat approached with a new device. This one shaped like a flower made of silver petals. She placed it gently on Taehyun's head. The world changed. Suddenly Taehyun was 7 years old again, crying in his grandmother's arms after learning he could never leave the mountain. He felt the grief, the fear, the crushing loneliness. Then he was 10, digging in frozen ground with bloody hands, burying his grandmother under the pine tree, knowing he was truly alone now. 13. Reading by candlelight during a storm, finding comfort in books about distant worlds and impossible adventures. 16. Watching the valley below through binoculars, seeing people in the village live their lives, feeling the ache of wanting something he could never have. 20. Opening his door to find Pip dying in the snow, and choosing without hesitation to help, even though everything in his careful, isolated life told him to be cautious. The memories flowed like water, and through them all, Elder Quinn was there, watching, understanding. Taehyun felt her presence like warm sunlight, not invading but witnessing. Respectful, kind. Then the device lifted, and Taehyun gasped, back in his own mind. His legs shook. Dae-sung caught his arm, steadying him. Easy, the older man said. I've got you. Elder Quinn spoke, and this time every Mirai in the council leaned forward to listen. Pip's voice trembled as it translated. She says she has seen your soul. She says you carry something rare. Not your genetic mutation. Something else. Compassion. Born from suffering. Wisdom born from solitude. Strength born from accepting your weakness, the elder continued. And Pip struggled to keep up. She says you spent 20 years isolated, not by choice but by necessity. You could have grown bitter, angry, hateful, but instead you grew patient, kind, open to wonder. When an alien appeared at your door, you did not fear. You did not hate. You saved a life because it was the right thing to do. Taehyun felt tears on his face. He didn't wipe them away. She says this is what the Mirai look for. Not perfect civilizations. Not societies without violence or struggle. But beings who can choose kindness when it would be easier to choose fear. Beings who can find connection across impossible distances. Beings who turn suffering into compassion. Elder Quinn gestured to the council, and Pip translated her final words. She says if one human, isolated and alone, can show such nobility, then humanity as a whole deserves the chance to prove themselves. She proposes a conditional trial. A small group of humans will be introduced to galactic society. They will represent Earth. If they succeed in showing humanity's potential, full contact will be established within 1 generation. If they fail, Earth returns to isolation for another century. The council erupted in discussion. Some Mirai objected loudly. Others nodded in agreement. The debate raged for what felt like hours. Finally, Commander Vix raised her hand. Silence fell. She spoke formally, and Surveyor Lin recorded her words with his device. Vote. Pip whispered. They vote now. One by one, the holograms changed color. Green for yes, red for no. Taehyun counted, his heart in his throat. Green. Red. Green. Green. Red. Green. It was close. So close. But when the last vote was cast, green outnumbered red by just 3 votes. The trial was approved. Commander Vix turned to Taehyun, and for the first time, her expression softened slightly. She spoke directly to him. She says you have won a chance for your species, Pip translated. But it comes with conditions. You must come with them. You will be Earth's first representative. They will take your genetic material to create the cure, but you will also live among them, learn their ways, teach them about humanity. You will be a bridge between worlds. For how long? Taehyun asked. At least 3 years, maybe more. It depends on how well you do, how well you prove humanity's worth. Taehyun looked around at his grandmother's cabin, the only home he'd ever known, the books, the fireplace, the pine tree where she rested. Could he leave it all behind? But then he thought about what he would gain. The chance to see the stars up close, to meet other civilizations, to prove that Earth deserved a place in the universe, to make sure no one, human or alien, had to feel the isolation he had felt. I'll do it, he said, but I have a request. Commander Vix tilted her head, listening. Daesung comes with me. He was willing to help when he saw you. He showed the same compassion you're looking for. Earth needs more than one representative. We need different perspectives, different voices. He's older, more experienced. I'm young and have lived alone. Together, we can show humanity better than either of us could alone. Vix looked at Daesung, who straightened under her gaze. I'll go, Daesung said simply. Someone needs to keep this kid out of trouble. Vix spoke with Elder Quinn briefly, then nodded. Agreed. You may both come. But there is one more thing. Medical Officer Keat stepped forward with a new device. Your blood sample. For the cure. May we? Taehyun held out his arm. Keat worked gently, extracting what she needed. The device hummed and glowed green. She looked at the results and made a sound of satisfaction. She says it is perfect, Pip translated. With this, they can begin developing the cure immediately. Billions of lives will be saved because of you. Taehyun looked at the small vial of his blood, glowing in Keat's device. His whole life, his condition, had been a curse. Now it was a gift. The isolation that had defined him was giving the universe something precious. When do we leave? He asked. Tomorrow at dawn, Vic said through Pip. You have 1 night to prepare. Say goodbye to your home. The Mirai returned to their ship. The holograms faded. The clearing grew quiet again. Taehyun, Daesung, and Pip stood in the snow under the stars. Well, Daesung said, breaking the silence. This isn't how I expected my delivery route to go. Taehyun laughed. the sound bubbling up from deep in his chest. Me neither. They went into the cabin. Taehyun packed a small bag, a few books, his grandmother's journal, a photo of her, faded and creased. Not much else. He had never owned much. Daesung made tea, and they sat by the fire. Pip perched on the table between them. Scared? Daesung asked. Terrified, Taehyun admitted. But also excited. For the first time in my life, I get to choose. I get to step into the world, into the universe, instead of hiding from it. Your grandmother would be proud, Daesung said quietly. Taehyun touched the journal in his lap. I hope so, Pip spoke softly. You changed everything today. Not just for Earth. For me too. You showed me that rules are not always right. That compassion matters more than protocol. Thank you, friend. Thank you, Pip, Taehyun said. For crashing at my door. For trusting me. For being the first person who ever really saw me. They sat together as the night deepened. 3 souls from different worlds. Bound by choice and friendship. Waiting for dawn and whatever came after. 3 years passed like a river, sometimes rushing fast, sometimes flowing slow and steady. Taehyun stood at the observation window of the Mirai orbital station, looking down at Earth, spinning below. He was 23 now, no longer the isolated boy who had lived in a mountain cabin. But he carried that boy with him always, in his heart. The station hung in space above Korea, a massive structure of silver and light. Thousands of Mirai lived here, along with the small human delegation that had grown from just 2 people to 5. Taehyun heard footsteps behind him. He didn't need to turn around to know who it was. You're up early again, Daesung said, joining him at the window. The older man had gray in his hair now, more lines around his eyes. But he looked happier than Taehyun had ever seen him. Couldn't sleep, Taehyun admitted. Today's the big presentation. 3 years of work comes down to the next few hours. Nervous? Very. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the sunrise paint Earth's atmosphere in brilliant oranges and reds. Somewhere down there, in the mountains of Gangwon Province, Taehyun's cabin still stood empty. The Mirai had preserved it exactly as he left it, a monument to the first contact between their species. The door behind them opened, and 3 more people entered. G1, a linguistics expert from Seoul, who had joined them after 6 months. Hyun-sik, an engineer from Busan who could take apart any machine and put it back together better than before. And Yoonji, a philosophy professor from Daegu who helped everyone navigate the complicated ethics of representing an entire planet. Big day, Ji-won said, her voice bright with excitement. She was young, only 25, with an energy that reminded Taehyun of sunshine. The biggest, Hyun-sik agreed. He held a tablet showing their presentation data, 3 years of cultural exchange, technological collaboration, and peaceful coexistence between humans and Mirai, all documented in careful detail. Eun-ji touched Taehyun's shoulder gently. How are you feeling? Scared, he said honestly. What if we're not enough? What if 3 years wasn't long enough to prove humanity's worth? Then we ask for more time, she said calmly. But I don't think we'll need to. We've shown them who we can be. That has to count for something. Pip entered the room, now wearing a small translation device around its neck. The alien had become something of a celebrity among both species. The bridge that made everything possible. The council gathers in 1 hour, Pip said. Elder Quinn sent a message. She looks forward to your presentation. Taehyun took a deep breath. Then, we'd better get ready. The presentation chamber was enormous, with holographic displays covering every surface. The Mirai Collective assembled, hundreds of representatives from across their civilization, but this time, humans watched too. The presentation was being broadcast to Earth, to special facilities where world leaders and scientists gathered to see if humanity would be welcomed into the galactic community. Taehyun stood at the center of the chamber. The other 4 humans beside him. Commander Vix, who had become an unexpected ally over the years, introduced them formally. Then it was Taehyun's turn to speak. 3 years ago, he began, his voice steady despite his nerves, I lived alone in a mountain cabin. I had never touched another human being. I had never been part of a community. I thought I understood loneliness. But I was wrong. Real loneliness isn't being physically alone. It's believing you have no place in the universe, that you don't matter, that no one will ever truly understand you. He gestured to the holographic displays, which showed images from Earth, cities and villages, forests and oceans, people of every color and culture. Earth has felt that loneliness for thousands of years. We looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone. We created stories about alien life because the alternative, being the only conscious beings in an infinite universe, was too terrible to imagine. And all that time, you were watching us, judging us, deciding we weren't ready. Some of the Mirai shifted uncomfortably, but Taehyun wasn't here to make them comfortable. He was here to tell the truth. You were right about some things. Humans fight. We make mistakes. We hurt each other and our planet. But we also love. We create. We dream. We reach for things beyond our grasp. When Pip crashed at my door, I didn't know what she was. I could have been afraid. I could have turned away. But I chose to help. That choice, that simple act of compassion, it's not unique to me. It's human. G1 stepped forward. I learned 17 alien languages in 3 years. Not because I'm special, but because humans adapt. We learn, we grow, give us a challenge, and we rise to meet it. Hyun-sik activated a device he had built. I designed this with Surveyor Lin. It combines Mirai technology with human engineering. It's more efficient than either species could create alone. That's what collaboration looks like. That's what we can offer the galaxy. Eunji spoke next, her voice calm and clear. You worry about our violence, our conflicts. But consider this. Every species in this council probably has a violent history. The difference is, you've had time to grow past it. We're asking for the same chance. Not isolation, not judgment, just opportunity. Daesung finished. I'm not a scientist or a diplomat. I'm just a man who drove a truck through mountains, delivering supplies to someone who needed them. But that's what humans do. We show up. We help. Even when it's hard. Even when it costs us something. We don't give up on each other. And we won't give up on becoming worthy of the stars. Taehyun took over again. These 3 years, we've worked alongside the Mirai. We helped develop the cure for the pathogen that threatened 5 species. My blood was part of that. Yes, but so was Mirai science. So was cooperation. Together, we saved billions of lives. That's what first contact can be. Not one species helping another. Not charity or pity. Partnership equals working toward the same goal. The chamber was silent. Taehyun could feel every eye on him, human and alien. You asked us to prove humanity's worth, he said quietly. But I think that was the wrong question. Worth isn't something you prove. It's something you live. Every day, we made choices. To be kind. To learn. To build instead of destroy. To reach out instead of pulling back. We're not perfect. We never will be. But we're trying. And we're asking you to let us keep trying. Not alone, but as part of something bigger. He looked directly at Elder Quinn's hologram. I spent 20 years isolated in a cabin. It kept me safe. It protected me. But it also kept me from living. Don't do that to Earth. Don't let fear disguise itself as protection. We're ready. Maybe not for everything. Maybe we'll make mistakes. But we're ready to try. And that should be enough. We're 70 to script side. We're 70 to script side. All nut calm. The presentation ended. The holograms faded. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Elder Quinn rose. She spoke, and her words filled the chamber with their weight and wisdom. Pip translated for the humans and for Earth. She says the trial period is complete. The Mirai Collective has seen enough. The vote will now commence. All. Taehyun's heart hammered. This was it. Everything depended on what happened next. The vote was not quick. It was deliberate, thoughtful. Each Murray representative considered carefully before making their choice. Green lights began to appear. But red lights appeared too, more than Taehyun wanted to see. He watched the count rise. Green pulling ahead, red catching up. Back and forth, the balance shifting. When the final vote was cast, Taehyun couldn't breathe. Green won. By a larger margin than before. Not unanimous, but strong, clear, undeniable. The chamber erupted in sounds. Mirai clicking and chirping in their language. And from Earth, transmitted through the broadcast, the sound of humans cheering, crying, celebrating. Commander Vix approached the human delegation. She spoke formally, but Taehyun saw warmth in her eyes. The Mirai Collective recognizes Earth as a developing civilization worthy of supervised contact. Full diplomatic relations will be established. Cultural and scientific exchange will begin. Welcome to the galactic community. Coming well. Ji-won burst into tears. Hyun-sik laughed and grabbed Dae-sung in a tight hug. Eun-ji smiled, quiet and content. Taehyun felt Pip climb onto his shoulder, the alien's familiar weight, a comfort. We did it, Pip whispered. Together. Together, Taehyun agreed. Later, after the celebrations calmed, Taehyun returned to the observation window. Pip stayed with him, the two friends watching Earth in comfortable silence. What happens now? Pip asked. I don't know, Taehyun said. I suppose I go home eventually. Help Earth adjust to everything. Be a bridge, like we've been here. You will be good at it. You understand both worlds now. Isolation and connection. Fear and hope. Taehyun thought about his cabin in the mountains, about his grandmother's grave under the pine tree, about the books and the fireplace, and the silent years. I used to think my isolation was a waste, he said softly. 20 years lost. 20 years I could have spent differently. But now I understand. Those years made me who I needed to be. Patient enough to let Pip trust me. Strong enough to stand before the collective. Wise enough to see that loneliness is a teacher. Not just a punishment. Your grandmother knew, Pip said. I read her journals. She knew isolation would shape you. Make you special. She hoped you would find your purpose. She would be proud. Taehyun wiped his eyes. I hope so. They stood together as Earth turned below. Day giving way to night. Darkness giving way to light again. The cycle continued. As it always had. But now, everything was different. Earth was no longer alone. Humanity had been seen, truly seen, and accepted. And it had all started with a boy who spent his life isolated, who opened his door to a tiny alien and chose kindness over fear. Below them, Earth spun on. Cities sparkled like stars. Oceans reflected the moon, and in the mountains of Gangwon province, a small cabin stood empty but not forgotten. A reminder that sometimes the loneliest places can be the beginning of the most incredible journeys. Taehyun smiled. He had spent 20 years alone so that humanity would never have to be isolated again. And that, he realized, made every lonely moment worth it. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and now, finally, Earth was part of it. Not because humans were perfect, not because they had no flaws or fears, but because one isolated young man had proven that compassion, courage, and hope could bridge any distance, even the space between worlds. The story of first contact was complete. But the story of what came next, of humanity among the stars, was just beginning, and Taehyun couldn't wait to see what happened next.